So welcome to our May session of Daring to Learn. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Elena Boyd. I'm an Extension Assistant with the Center for Profitable Agriculture. We're a department in UT Extension based in Columbia, Tennessee. And this Daring to Learn webinar series, it's a monthly webinar series that the center hosts, and our topics change every month. This month we've got Camille Stevens from the University of Kentucky with their Department of Agricultural Economics, and she's going to be talking about using a website to grow your market with us. And just some general kind of housekeeping things before we go much further. You guys will be able to use the chat box today if you have a question. There's also that Q&A feature. You can raise your hand. But if you have a question or need any kind of clarification, you can get a hold of us and let us know. One of us will respond. But I will go ahead and give Camille a chance to introduce herself and then hand it over to her.
Thank you, Elena. Well, hello, everyone. As Elena said, my name is Camille Stevens. Some may have also known me as Camille Dant, so either or, that is exactly who I am. But I work in the Agricultural Economics Department here at the University of Kentucky. I work with the Market Ready program and specifically the dairy portion of the Market Ready program. And then I also work with UK's Center for Crop Diversification. If anyone is familiar with it, you've heard this before, but we are housed within, we're kind of co-housed within the Agricultural Economics Department as well as the Horticulture Department here at UK. So we probably have half in Ag Econ and then the other half of our team in horticulture. So I'm in the Ag Econ side doing a little bit more of the marketing and everything. And we have experts within the horticulture side doing more of production and everything there as well. Here's a little bit of a background on the screen right now for me. I'm from Nelson County. If anyone is familiar with Kentucky, the main town there is Bardstown. I grew up on a small cattle operation, so familiar with cattle and everything there. But yeah, so that's who I am. If anyone ever needs anything that the UK can give or help or whatever, feel free to reach out. My contact information will be at the end of these slides. But you can also just search my name and I know it comes up under UK's website as well. But Elena, if we are good to go, I can go ahead and get started.
Yes, you should be able to screen share now.
Okay, can everyone see like using a website to grow your market? Perfect. Okay. All right. So today, my presentation is going to be using a website to grow your market. And again, this is my name. I'm an extension associate. I don't think I mentioned that, but here is just a quick, we love to put these in our presentations just to familiarize people with our, for the CCD's website, in case anyone is not familiar, but kind of curious on some of the information that we have, things that are on the website itself. So at the very top of this slide, you'll see our URL as well as our Instagram and Facebook handle. So if you want to follow us, we'd love to have you follow us on there. We share almost daily, maybe every other day, but we keep pretty consistent with our social media and everything. And then on here on the website, we have marketing, general marketing, market specific, crop specific tabs. We have production, general production, crop specific, as well as system specific. And then we have a few other things on our website, like price reports, budgets, different trainings, and everything like that. So if you see anything or you just kind of want to peruse our website while I'm going along or anything, feel free to take a look. We have so much information on there as well. And I can put the link a link to our Market Ready Dairy website in the chat. But that is where we house a lot of our dairy information too. All right, so today we're going to go over website goals. So why do you have or why do you want a website? So that's just kind of something to think about. Keep that in mind as we are going through this presentation. Why do you have or why do you want a website? And then the other thing to think about throughout is, what do your customers need from your website? Not anyone else's website, but from your website. So some example goals that will kind of talk about is, you want to drive traffic to your store, whether that is fully online or whether you have an in-person store. You want to sell products online, answer customer questions. Potentially you have an agritourism business. That is where a lot of people are going to go to find some general questions that they have if it's coming to visit. Again, answering the FAQs, and to get newsletter signups if you have a newsletter. So kind of these are some general goals that we're going to set or think about as we go through this presentation and what the purpose of a website is. So the purpose of a website, it's to establish credibility, it's making it easy for your customers to find you, and to help facilitate sales. But do you need one? So one of the things that when we give our presentations about websites, social media, whatever it is, we always tell our producers, you're going to hear from so many people that you need this type of website, you need this type of social media, you need this and this and this, like tons of things. We're constantly throwing all these things at you that we say you need or to think about potentially needing. And something that we always kind of at the start of a presentation such as this, we like to tell people, if you can only handle or you only really want one thing, whether that is a website, whether that is Facebook or an Instagram, that is perfectly fine. You don't have to have every single type of website, social media, whatever that might be. If you can only handle one, or if that is the only thing that you want to have, that is okay. We never want people to feel overwhelmed with, they said I need a website and social media and an email and a listserv or whatever it might be. So we always like to say at the beginning of these presentations, if you're just here to kind of get an idea of maybe you want one, and then at the end you're like, this might be a little too much, I'm not ready for it right now, or nope, I'm ready to start a website. Either feeling is perfectly fine. We just don't want anyone to feel like, this is the only way to make sales, the only way to do anything. So I just want to throw that kind of disclaimer out there. So one of the things with having a website, though, is you need to evaluate your online presence. So what form or forms of an online presence do you have? Again, that's in the form of a website, if you have one, social media, as well as a Google business page. And I'm not going to really go into Google business pages as much in this presentation, but it's something to think about, because if anyone has listed your business, whether that is your address or if you have a website, whatever information is, Google will automatically make you a Google business page. So one thing that we'll say is to just go and Google yourself, Google your farm, whatever it might be, and just go and check and see if there is a Google business page listed for you. You can claim it and make sure that it's your own. That's where you put all the information. That's where reviews. I'm sure a lot of us probably have gone and say a restaurant, you've never been, but you want to know a little bit more about it. You just go to that Google business page and you look at the reviews. That's what that is. So make sure, just while I'm talking or anytime, just go on and see. I'm going to Google myself really quick, see if there's a Google business page. If there is, and some of that information is incorrect, you might want to just reach out to Google and claim that page as your own, so you are in control of all that pertinent information regarding your business. And this kind of goes along into that second bullet point of, is your information consistent across platforms? Whether that, again, that's on your website, social media, or if you have that Google business page. You want to make sure that all of that is the same across any or all three or however many more you might have platforms. Because if I could go to a website and it says your hours are 9 to 5, but then I go onto your Facebook, but it says your hours are 10 to 6, but I can only come at 9, well, what is it exactly? So make sure when you're kind of like going through this presentation, or when you maybe go and do a self-audit, whatever that might be, of your own social medias, websites, etc., make sure that information is correct across the board. And then again, what are your goals with having an online presence? Just something we're going to think about. I'm going to throw that out a lot today. So really kind of think, if I'm going to get involved in having an online presence, what is the goal for that? So today we are looking at how to build a website, or how to use a website to grow your market. But the biggest part of that is having a really good homepage. So we're going to go over 5 tips for an effective homepage. And this is going to be quickly and effectively grabbing your customers' attention and directing them to where you want them to go. So tip number 1, you want to tell your audience what you do. You want to make sure that the homepage tells your visitors what your business does right away. Are you selling cheese? Are you selling yogurt? What is that? You want to make sure that your customers or potential customers know what you do. So the first impression is where you make them aware of what you offer, and it's the opportunity to grab their attention. You want to have an effective headline. You want it to be visually prominent, simple language, and only discuss the essentials. There are some businesses, I'm sure, or websites you've gone on, you're like, this is a lot in just like the first couple seconds. That's really where you're grabbing those customers, especially the ones that you're really trying to get. Loyal customers, the ones you've already established, the ones who already purchased from you, they'll typically be okay with kind of navigating a little bit of that clunkiness. But those brand new customers that you're trying to grasp, if they haven't kind of figured out exactly what they want within the first 10 to 20 seconds of visiting your site, they'll immediately go somewhere else. So you want to make sure that, that headline, it's visually prominent, it's simple, and you want to discuss the essentials. So here's a really good example that we found and that we like to show. And this is Locust Avenue Farm. And one of the things, what they say exactly, Suffolk County's premier grower of flowers, hanging baskets, plants, and more. So they are saying exactly where they're located, Suffolk County, and this is New York State. If you can kind of see by the little where farm is. But they're saying exactly where they're at. They're saying what they sell. They have that contact form up at the top. They have a really eye-catching photo, but it's visually prominent, but it's nothing too overwhelming to the eye. They've kind of dialed back some of that initial photo, so it's a little bit more softer to the eye to look at. And then down at the bottom where those, I guess that's about 6 different little tiles, they show bedding plants, hanging baskets, garden flowers, vegetable plants, gift certificates, mums and pumpkins. So those 6 things are probably the most important things that they note to their business and they want people to know about. And if you go onto their website and you hover over it, you're able to click those and kind of get a little bit more information. But those are their main drivers. That's the main thing that they want people to see on their website, is that they have hanging baskets and that they have gift certificates. So they've more than likely what they've done is polled their customers to see, when you come to our website, what are you looking for? Or when you come to us, what are you looking for? And those are the things that they've probably divvied out, that this is the important information that people want to see. So I want to make sure that they know that this is what we've got. And here we have a really another good example. Similar, they have what they want people to see up front, but it's a little bit different. So this is Magic Land Farms. One of the things that I'll note about the headline, Magic Land, and this is just me, maybe some other people see it, maybe they don't, but when I was working on this presentation with another colleague, I was struggling to see that it said Magic Land. That C at the top to me looked like an E based off of the location of the farm name. So to some people, that's not a huge deal. But to me, I was like, oh, I thought their name was Magi Land. So it's just it's something to think about when you're building your website, when you're kind of reviewing what's going on is, does this work for me? Maybe go ask someone else. Can you review this? Can you just see what it looks like? So that way, I can understand it. Can you understand it? Have multiple people check your site every so often just to see, is this still up to date? Can I still view it? Can I still understand? Are people still able to get what I want them to get out of that site? So that was just one of those things. And maybe that's me being picky. Maybe it's, maybe other people think it as well. But that is something to note too, is when you are looking at your websites, making sure that that information and what you want people to see is kind of easily visually seen. So one thing they could have done was add in a text box, or not really it's kind of like a text box, but you can do this on Canva, and you just add in like a box behind the name and kind of transpose it to where that magic land stands out a little bit more. And you're able to see more of that name, so it's visually prominent, instead of that it kind of in some ways blending in with the background, because it's a little hard on such a bright picture like that to even pick any other text color for that to stand out a little bit more. But the reason I wanted to show this website's homepage was they just have different things that they prioritized. So for here, if you'll see, it says click on the map for directions. So people are able to click on that map and go directly to the location of the farm. So that's something that they really prioritize. They're like, potentially it could have been, we have a lot of people say it's kind of hard to get here. The map isn't always correct when I type it in. So they wanted to make sure people know this is exactly where we are located. Here's how you can get there, making it as easy as possible for their customers to come in. And another thing that they wanted to prioritize compared to the last one was their story. They have that welcome to Magic Land Farms, that introduction. They're a family-owned and operated roadside farm market. So there's things that a different place prioritizes, but it's all goals. It's all the goals that they're wanting to set so that their customers know who they are, what they do, and why they should buy from them. Neither are the number one, the most perfect, but they're just different. And that's something to think about when you are kind of creating your website is, what is it that I want my customers to get? That's your story, or maybe that's what products you sell. It just varies on what your goal is. And then tip number 2, it's going to be including social media links. And I know before I talked, if you don't have any of it or it's overwhelming or anything, this is just something to think about in the future. But if you have a website and you have social media, make sure you are including those links. So you want to make it easy for your customers to find your social media pages. Some people will go directly to Facebook to then find your website. Some people will go to your website to then find your Facebook. It kind of varies, but you want to make sure that those are connected for those that are interested in finding those different social pages. Social media, it also helps your customers feel connected to your brand, and it reinforces that brand awareness and authenticity. I mean, on your website, you can even link your Instagram photos to kind of do a carousel reel, and it'll go through and show. But sometimes people just want to see more of just the photos. They go to your website for information, they go to your social media, they go to Instagram for photos to see what's going on at the farm. So kind of while they connect together, they are kind of two separate things. So just kind of think of it in that way they come to my website for information, they come to my social media for photos, for catching up, to get to know me a little bit more. But you want to have those two connected. It also allows customers and visitors to explore what else you offer. Again, if you have maybe an agritourism site and you really want to show, I just recently met a lady in Kentucky who has llamas for her agritourism, and you want them to know what you do with the llamas, but you can't always put everything on your website. This is a great example. It's going on your social media, so that way the people can see more of what you offer, more of what you do on a day-to-day basis. But you've invested time in both platforms. You want to incite action. You want people to see both. You've put a lot of time and effort into making these as best as you can, as perfect as you want them to be. Make sure that you are connecting the two so that way your hard work does not go unnoticed. And then the links to your social media can also make your website more discoverable. So if someone is going on Google and they're like, what was that, Magic Land Farms, your social media will come up as well as your website. So it just kind of connects the two together, so it makes yourself more discoverable. And then tip number 3, we want you to be picky with imagery. And I know everyone, or majority, I won't say everyone, majority of us always have our cell phones on us. And I would say majority all have access to a camera on their cell phone. So one thing we always tell people, especially after giving really any of our marketing presentations, is when you go out to the farm or you go out anywhere, whether it's at the farmer's market, whether you are going to a grocer to hand off your delivery, whatever it is, take pictures. you don't like people want to see what is going on in your day to day. They want to see what you do on the farm. They want to see what you do when you go to the grocer. Maybe you're buying something when you go there and you want to highlight a family farm that you also support yourself. Take pictures of that. People want to see what you're doing. So we want you to be picky with those pictures because the more you have, the more picky you can be. So you want to only choose photos that represent your brand. They're relevant and eye-catching. They tell your story and are good quality. So the top pictures that we have here, they're very eye-catching. They're very bright. They're, flowers. You want people to be able to see the colors and everything, the dimension. And then the two below that are I think it's Old Home Place Farms here in Kentucky. And, she's more personal. It's wanting to show the beans that she's growing. She's showing herself. So kind of think about that in regards to what photos you're taking. And then for alt captions, you want to it makes your website accessible. It's like writing a caption, and then SEO will prioritize your site. So make sure that when you are uploading those photos to whatever your website is, you're adding in a little bit of a caption. So for example, these beans, when you go and you were able to upload that onto your site, you would write local Kentucky green beans. And if someone was to look that up, your site would come up because that alternative caption is put under that photo. It won't show like under the photo whenever your website is live or anything, but when you're in the editor and everything, that is where you would write that alternative caption. And then one of the other things that we always say is you want to avoid stock photos at all costs, if you can. I understand sometimes it might be inevitable and you really need a picture in a pinch and you need one, but that might be where you use it temporarily for maybe a quick Facebook post or something. But for photos, especially on your website, you want to make sure that they are your photos, that it's showing your farm, your products, whatever that might be. See, we have a question in the chat, so I'm going to pull that up. Oh, that was Lena. All right. And then here is an example of using those photos. So the photos are going to provide proof of your product, service, and your site. So here is that Old Home Place farm that I had discussed on the previous slide. And, she has pictures, these really high quality picture of the hogs that are on their farm. And it's saying locally grown meats and veggies from our home place to yours. So it's just showing that, on the farm, if you are looking for pork, we have that. It also is a really good example of this photo is an aerial view of the parking situation. I don't know if we have any millennials or Gen Z on this call, but I know sometimes the parking situation at places can be very stressful for some of us. So this is just showing there's a big parking lot. It's easy to access. There's a road going to it and everything. Just an easy aerial view. And I'm pretty sure this was on a presentation I heard, so maybe halfway quote me on this. I think you can also get drone type images from Google like this. So you'd be able to, that's where I would say a stock photo kind of is okay because that really is your land. Is you can take an aerial photo of your farm and crop that and put that on your website. But it's just, again, these photos, they're showing proof that you have this on your farm. These are photos that I took. I made this, I grew this, whatever it might be. Put that out there. You want people to see it. You want people to buy it. You're really proud of that product. You're really proud of that photo you took. It's a great picture of pigs. It's a great picture of this abundance of corn that I have. I have so much. I want you to come buy it. You want people to see that. And then tip number 4, you want to make it user friendly. So I know earlier I said that we majority always have our phones on us. And I would say with that, majority of us are also always looking at our phones for the website. And so here in a second, I will show you how you can check to see if your website is mobile friendly. But you want to make it user friendly, whether they're on their website or whether they're on like a laptop or a computer, or whether they are on their cell phones. So in this regard, this is where you're going to create a visual hierarchy. So right now, while I'm talking, kind of going over some things, I want you to either jot down, think it in your head somewhere. I just want you to think, with my website, my goals, I want you to rank the 5 to 6 things you want to feature on your homepage in order of importance. So earlier, let's kind of think going back to the Locust Grove farm. The first thing they wanted people to know was that they were in Suffolk County, New York. So that was one of their important business functions that they wanted people to know. That was probably their top one. So that could be on there. Is you want people to know exactly where you are. You might be located in a kind of harder to get to area. So you want people to know that. That might be one of the top things on your visual hierarchy. And then thinking of Magic Land that we showed earlier, one of the top things that they had was their story. So that might be another thing that you're going to think of is I have a really unique story. I want people to know who I am and what I do. That is another visual hierarchy, an item that you're going to want people to see. That's the first thing that you want to be an eye catcher. So that's kind of creating that visual hierarchy. And right here on this example of Among the Oaks Herb Farm, their visual hierarchy is they wanted people to know that they are sustainably grown and handcrafted in the Red River Gorge here in Kentucky. So that's the first thing that pops up. And this is on, these screenshots are from a mobile device, but this is the first thing that you see. You know that they're sustainably grown, handcrafted, and they're located in Red River Gorge. So right there's 3 things for that visual hierarchy of important information that you want your customers to get when they first load your website. So one of the things with that is you don't want people to have to jump around to different pages to get this information. You want it all right up front. The first thing that they see is the information that you want them to see. So you may see user friendliness tips called UX, and this stands for user experience. And so this is obviously some of the stuff that I can say it's so easy to do on a computer to make sure that everything is user-friendly, that it's easily accessible, easily seen. But I'm going to pull over our website real quick and share that. And so this is our Center for Crop Diversification's website. This is showing on just on my computer. And this is through Firefox. I don't believe Google Chrome or Safari allows for this, but right now I think it's only Firefox can do it. But so what I'm going to do, if you'll follow me up to this 3 line right here, and if you go down to more tools, you go to responsive design mode, and this goes to where it shows it on a mobile device. So if you've been editing on your website today or whenever it is, and you're like, oh, I'm not sure if this will actually function on a cell phone, you can go do this in Firefox, and you'll be able to view it as if you were on a cellular device. And you can also, as I'm dragging, if you're like, oh, some people I know really look at it on an iPad, well, you can change it down here to about the size of what an iPad would look like. But you can edit to the size and just see, okay, does this work on a cell phone? Does it look okay? Is it still functional as it is if they were to pull it up on a computer? So that's a really good thing to remember when you're kind of doing some edits on your site and you want to make sure that it works on a computer, but it also works on a cell phone. Just go through Firefox, and I'll go through that one more time. It's this 3 open application menu. You go down to more tools and then responsive design mode. If you don't have Firefox or Firefox is not one that you prefer to use, another tip you can do is you can just shrink down let me see if I can, you can shrink down the web page to about the size of a cell phone, and it should work pretty well that way as well. But this is just a little bit more of a easier functional way to view that if it's functional on a cell phone or not. So that's one of the perks, one of the tips that we've got for using Firefox. All right, so the 5 to 6 things that we thought about for your visual hierarchy. We're going to go over that right here on the Locust Avenue webpage that we viewed earlier. So for them, their logo and their name was at the top. Their location was another one. Contact information, what products they had. And then when you scroll down a little bit more, which we didn't see earlier, but if you scroll down a little bit more, their story was up there. And then they have photo proof. So these are all photos that they have taken of their greenhouses, on their farm, of things that they have, things that they offer. So those are that's 6 different things that they had of importance that shows on their homepage. And now for Magic Land, now theirs is a little bit different. So their logo and their name. And see, this is where you might want to check and see if things changed, because earlier I had talked that I couldn't really tell if it was Magic Land or Magi Land. But see, their name now, I'm going to kind of highlight a little bit, has moved down where it's a little bit easier to see that it says Magic Land. So it's just something you want to check on every so often is, are these things moving? Are they different on this one application than they are on the other? You want to make sure that they're kind of all the same, but they're easily readable, easily digestible, the visual is a little bit easier. So just one thing to note when you're kind of doing this audit of your website or whatever it might be. So we talked about their logo and their name. It's one of their top visual hierarchy items. Their story would be their second, because it's the second thing you kind of see after their kind of headline. Their location is up there. They've got that photo proof of themselves, of what they serve. They have fresh fruits and vegetables. And then another thing that was different from the last one, see, they didn't really have products, but they had their newsletter. So their newsletter was also something that was a item that they wanted people to know about. So again, everyone is going to have different items that they consider as a top item that they want for their visual hierarchy people to see when they open up their homepage. And it just depends on what that is for you. Again, that could be your location. That could be wanting people to really get into your newsletter. That could be people really needing to know what products you sell. And then the thought is, how will my customers use this page? So you want to make it as easy as possible on them to do that thing. So for here, one of the easiest things for Locust Avenue Farm was their hours of operation. They made it very easy. They had a whole calendar from January to December saying, when they're closed, when they're open. They have Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then they do note, I'm looking at March right now. It says hours can vary in March. So if that is the case, one of my recommendations always is, if that's the case that your hours can vary in March, maybe this is where on your social media in March, you're a little bit more active on saying, today we're open, but we're going to be closed Wednesday through Thursday. And this is where you kind of can use the two together, because this is where it shows, hours can vary, but check our Facebook for what days they are open or what days we're closed, where you kind of want to keep that up, because getting into your website and making those edits are a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging than just going into your Facebook and saying, March, we say our hours vary, here is how they vary. So that's kind of where you can use the two together. And then for Old Home Place Farms, their customers, they had their description of their farm, like what it says. Old Home Place Farm is a family farm in Clay County, Kentucky, and their goal is to provide your family with delicious food that you can feel good about eating. So that was another thing that they wanted their customers to use and how they use their page, as well as their products. So they strive for premium grass-fed meats and delicious vegetables your family will savor. So again, thinking about how their customers are using the page, what those goals are. So for our visual hierarchy, I want you to take a look or think about if you thought about it, if you wrote it down, however you did, take a look at the goals you listed earlier. And then I want you to number those elements as your homepage elements. They're going to be, I want you to piece it in order of importance to your customers. And then the most important should be listed first. So that's more than likely going to be your logo and your name. But then after that, what else is going to be in that order? So we'll take just like, I don't know, 10 seconds, 20 seconds for you to kind of think about that a little bit as I'm kind of dragging out this sentence. But just think about it. What do you think your customers are looking for when they come to your homepage? Whether that's your products, whether that's your location, maybe it's a frequently asked question. We've had some producers ask, do I really need a FAQ page? Depends. Is that something that your customers ask you a lot? Are they always asking you questions that you're like, well, maybe I should have one of these, so that way they can just go directly onto our site and see. I don't know if we have many agritourism people on here, but one of the things that I feel like, as more and more people get dogs and they want to take them out places, that is something that you really want to think about having. That might be an important question that people start to ask you is, well, is your farm dog friendly? Have that on there. Yes, no, maybe, I'm not sure. But that's something that people are going to start asking is, do I really need a FAQ page? Well, are you getting a lot of questions about certain information? Then it might be time to consider putting one on there. All right, so I think I've probably talked enough to get you guys to get that visual hierarchy in order of what you think, where you think it should be. And then our last tip is include a contact form or box. So here's just 2 examples of, got a question, have a question. You want to make it as easy as possible for your customers to interact with your business. So an easy contact information should be found 2 to 3 places on the homepage. If you kind of remember back to the beginning, at Locust Avenue Farm, that contact was directly under the Suffolk County's premier flower farm. That was right under there. I think that was number 3. So that was apparently very important to them, is they want people to contact them. To me, as someone in extension, I kind of think, well, they might actually be a wholesaler, so they're probably having people come on there and that's what they need immediately is their contact form. It just depends, really, but make sure that it's found just a couple places. I know most of us, I would say, probably know to scroll down to the very bottom of the page, and that's usually where Contact Us is. Some people even have a whole tab dedicated to Contact Us. Today, again, we're kind of going over homepage specifically, but you just want to have 2 to 3, more than likely 2 places on the homepage that people will be able to find your information to contact you. Again, whether it is your contact info, like on Magic Land, they have their address, their email, and their phone number. But then on Locust Avenue, they have, give us a call or submit the contact form below. So they are the ones kind of reaching out versus you're able to kind of reach out to them directly to your website. And that'll be a personal thing. Are you okay with putting your email on, or are you the one who wants to eventually reach out to them? Are you okay with having whatever phone number it is on your contact page, or are you going to be the one that is initiating that phone call? Things to think about, what works best for you. And then one of the things that we wanted to throw in for anyone who is considering creating a website and is not really sure where to get started, here are some website builders for beginners. There are a lot out there, but these are some of the 3 main ones that we see and that we hear producers using. Another thing that I'll note, I know GoDaddy is also another one, but I'm not 100% sure if they do e-commerce. And the only reason I picked these 3, Wix, Shopify, and Squarespace, is because they eventually, depending on your goals, if you only want a website for information, no e-commerce, but eventually you're considering getting into e-commerce, these might be sites you want to look into because they easily kind of connect with whatever your e-commerce might be. Shopify, I know, is a big one. But if you're just kind of wanting some general information, you're not really intending to get into e-commerce, you might not need ones like this. But so for Wix, you have paid or free options. It has lots of features. It has an AI feature that can help you develop your site. So it might make it a little bit easier if you're like, I don't really have a lot of time. I don't really want to think a lot about what to do or what to say. You can use that AI feature that can help you kind of generate some content or some things for you as you're building your site. And then Shopify, that might be, I would say, majority of people I talk to use Shopify or at least familiar with Shopify. So this one, it's probably the top for e-commerce. So again, if that is a goal that you're wanting to get into, is some more e-commerce, this might be the one that you want to either start with or shift to if you're kind of considering, I'm not really happy with the website builder I'm currently using or something. So this one, you can get a business plan, which is $29 per month, and it gives you a lot more resources and everything than if you just did the free version. I do believe that you do have to pay for the business plan to be able to use the e-commerce portion of Shopify. And then it also has an in-house AI generator that can create product descriptions for you as well. So just kind of as you're thinking about it, what are some things that I need as the producer that make things a little bit more simple for me, or what are things that I can do that I don't really need, kind of weighing those options. And then the last one that we've heard a lot of people use is Squarespace. A business plan for Squarespace is $23 a month, so a little bit cheaper than Shopify, but it's not as user-friendly for e-commerce. And then it's really easy to use for just general information, and there's lots of design templates. So if you're kind of like, I don't really want to spend a lot of time trying to design a really functional website and everything, this might be one to consider because it has a lot of templates that you don't really have to think out. You can kind of just plug and chug and there it goes. So these are just a couple. I'm sure some other people might use different ones that work fantastic for you. And if so, if you have a really good one, feel free to drop it into the chat. Maybe I've never heard of it, or maybe another producer is kind of interested. These aren't really what you're looking for, but you want something else. Feel free to drop that down. But those are just some that we have. And then I am at the end of my presentation. So it's using a website to grow your farm market. One of the things that I want to give a little highlight or shout out for is in September, we are hosting a market ready dairy training at the Bowling Green. So it's Warren County Extension Office. And I will actually, let me pull back up I'm going to pull up our market ready website. Let me make this bigger so you all can see. So here is our market ready dairy website. So this is where we house a lot of our resources and everything. So if anyone is interested, feel free to type in it's market ready at UKY, and then you can scroll through. We have our regular market ready producer training program information on there. And then as well as right here, we have market ready dairy. And then if you are interested in our market ready dairy producer training, you'll go to this upcoming events and you'll scroll down. We are right here for the market ready dairy producer training. And that is on September 12th of this year from 9:30 to 2 p.m. And that again is at the Warren County Extension Office here in Kentucky. And so that's Bowling Green for those that are familiar. We will have a virtual option. It will be in person, but we will have a virtual option. So feel free if you're interested to go ahead and sign up. And we can work with you if maybe, I can only attend virtually, but I can only attend from like 9 to 10 or whatever it might be. We'll work with you and everything. So feel free to reach out to me. Let me go back. Here's my contact information. If anyone would like anything, I think we have a question. Do you see the value of having a newsletter associated to your website or a blog section? I personally think there is value, especially if, depending on what you're producing. So, for example, we taught a program back in April, and we had a producer who she grows herbs. And one of the things that she said, she has a lot of, sorry, Elena, if I'm doing something wrong, something just came up. She has these herbs that she says she has a lot of people ask questions about. They don't really know the best way to cook with them or to use them. And one example she had was black garlic, which I knew about black garlic, but I didn't know that there was a specific way and a specific time when you're cooking with it. So she said that she has a blog on her website. So she created a blog post on how to use and when to use black garlic, as well as some of the medicinal properties that black garlic has. So I do think that there is benefit to having your newsletter or blog post listed on your website, and it can create some more people like, if they have a newsletter, I'm very curious as to what additional information that they kind of send out, what they talk about. So I might sign up. You might have some people sign up, you might have some people unsubscribe. Kind of depends, but I think there's benefit to it because you as the producer have so much information about your product that people want to know about. And especially if you maybe don't sell at a farmer's market, if you're doing it fully online, that's the place that you're able to kind of give that farmer's market pitch to those customers, is through that blog post or through that newsletter. So just something to consider if you're kind of like, well, I might throw one on there, I might not. Let's see.
And
Do
then
we
we've
have
got
any
Angel
other
has her
questions?
hand raised. Angel, I'm gonna allow you to talk. You can unmute yourself if you're set up for that. Can you hear us okay? Oh, okay. She
Oh,
says it
she
was an
said
accident.
accident.
Okay, no worries. Sorry.
Yeah,
All right.
no worries.
So I will let you guys know, we've still got time for questions if anybody else has some. In the chat box, I've dropped in a link to our January Daring to Learn session. So Travis Key from TK Digital Marketing, he gave a session on optimizing your website for more traffic. So he talks a little bit in that session about um, blog posts, that kind of thing, using SEO, the search engine optimization. So a little bit more of that next level information that you guys may be looking for, that would be a good place to start. It looks like we've got another question from Mark.
Um, I would say it depends on if you want to spend the money to have a company develop it for you. And the other thing I would say is it depends on how much information that you need to put on your website. They are, I'm going to use Wix, for example. It's a really easy website to kind of just build something general. And it depends on how much you want on that website. So if you're like, I have a plethora of items, of personal information, stories. You have a newsletter and you have a blog and you want to create maybe an e-commerce portion of the site. That might be where you would consider using a company to develop for you, just to make it a little bit more seamless. But if it's kind of just like, I just need people to know who I am, know what products I have. I've got some little tidbits of information to maybe put on like a frequently asked question kind of thing. I think that would be 100%. You could do that, no problem, and don't really need to involve a company to develop a website for you.
I will say too, just to kind of bounce off of that, a lot of these drag and drop website builders, kind of like Squarespace or Wix, that kind of thing, it makes it simple for folks who don't have any kind of website building knowledge to just make an account, start with a pre-built template and put something together. But kind of similarly to we hear producers talk about all the time, well, I don't have time to run my social media.
Mhm.
It, it may be the same situation with a website where you're so busy with all the other aspects of the farm that you may not have time to go in and edit that website yourself or to keep up with it. So that's when I would maybe look at having somebody else to do that for you,
Mhm.
or then hiring a company to do that. Um, but if doing one yourself is something you're considering, I would definitely not be intimidated to get online and look at your options and start. I know for the center's website, it's through WordPress, but there are a couple other options. Weebly's one that I've used before,
Mhm.
and a lot of these now are the templates are super easy. As long as you have pictures or things like that kind of saved to your desktop, you can drag and drop stuff into where it wants to go, and it on the front end it just makes it simple. I would say it's almost foolproof. It's
Yeah.
very hard to mess the pre-built templates up. So
Hmm. And I'll kind of add off of that a little bit. We have one producer who they have no desire to even create a website because their Facebook is essentially that for them. Like they do everything via their Facebook. And if that's kind of the case for you, if you're like, I really don't feel the need to have a website, or I don't want to put more time and effort into the one that I currently have, if your Facebook or whatever it might be is that place that you get majority of your service from, whether that's through direct messaging producer or consumers, or whatever that might be, keep up with the Facebook. We have some, they're like, I don't have a desire because do the Facebook is my website. So it kind of just depends. But yeah, let's see, templates drag and drop can be found in Wix. I believe so.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
typing an answer into that chat box,
Oh,
but
okay. Sorry,
um,
Lena.
no, it's okay. Most of these website builders now, you can just Google um, build your own website template, and it will bring up several different sites. I know GoDaddy used to not kind of offer that same thing, where you could build a website that way through GoDaddy, at least that I was familiar with. But I know recently my mom put one together for my family farm, and she was able to use GoDaddy just in the exact same way that you would use Wix or one of these other
Mhm.
kind of pre-built templates. So that's an option now too. Got another question. These questions are really good, guys.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to read this out loud. So, can you tell me some of the differences between an e-commerce site and a website like you showed, mostly to bring people to a location? What are things to look for when you start if you know which way you want to go and build them, like inventory maintenance requirements or plugins? So majority of the websites, whether they have the e-commerce commerce section or not, and I'm thinking of Shopify currently. That's kind of where my brain is viewing. You are able to create a Shopify website without having that e-commerce platform. They call it making like the page invisible. So if you're kind of wanting to get started, for example, I eventually want to get to e-commerce, but I'm not ready for that just yet. Maybe that's in like 5 months, but you really want to use Shopify. You're able to create that account, create the web page, and then just make that like the purchasing part of that, you're able to make it invisible, or like a ghost kind of, where only you as the website builder and owner can see it, and me as the customer can't, until you are ready to make that live for that customer to eventually see it. So again, I know your question is like the difference between an e-commerce site and a website that brings people to location. It really is going to depend on your goal of what is the website for. Is it just for information, or is it eventually to start selling via with an e-commerce platform? So that might be where you choose somewhere like Shopify over someone like Wix, who Wix does. It has a plug-in to Squarespace. Wix does not have e-commerce on their own. They do plug into like Squarespace. That I see that a lot at the farmers market. So if you're like, eventually I need to do e-commerce, that's my goal, but I'm not there just quite yet. That might be where you're like, okay, I'm going to work with Shopify and then make those plugins, the inventory management and everything silent, or ghosts, if you will, until I'm ready to then make them live for people to see. And then one other thing that I will throw out is, with the Center for Crop Diversification, one thing that we are starting to offer is website evaluations. So if you currently have a website that you're like, I don't really know what to do. I'm at a point where I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm at a stalemate and I need a little bit of a refresh or something. So we have started to offer where we'll go and we'll look at your website, my team will, and we'll kind of review it a little bit. It's just a very high level, like we don't get into the weeds at first, unless that's something that you want. But we just kind of scroll through and we see, oh, this needs to be fixed, or this is really great, but we think it should be on this page instead of this page. So how that process kind of works is if you want to reach out to us via email, you can send me an email, or if again you kind of wanted to peruse our website, you could email anyone on our About Us page and say, hey, I'm interested in a website review. Would you mind doing that? So we'll get our team together, we'll look over the website, and we have a document where we kind of give out our recommendations. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to shoot me an email. We'll get you set up on our schedule to kind of do a website review. And then what we do after, once we send it to you, is if that works for you, if you're okay with the document that we send and you don't need any more help, we call it good. You can always reach back out to us if you have more questions. But then we also offer to kind of Zoom after that. It's like, oh, I need a little bit more description. I need a little bit more one-on-one. I want to talk to you in person about this. Then we can kind of get together and maybe Zoom and see, okay, here's how we implement that, how we kind of want to see that look. So feel free again to ever reach out and see if that's something that you would like to do.
So, well, if nobody else has any more questions, I will go ahead and I'll throw our attendance and evaluation form up. So for those of you who are kind of new to Daring to Learn, if this is your first time, we have an evaluation form that we ask you guys to fill out at the end of each session. If you are a Tennessee producer and you're interested in TEAP credit, that's the Tennessee Agricultural Enhancement Program, TAEP, you can get producer diversification educational credit for your application B by watching at least 5 sessions this year and filling out an evaluation form for each session. So that's up on the screen. I'll also have a link to that in the follow-up email that I send out to you guys. And I didn't share this earlier, but I probably should have. Camille talked a lot about the Market Ready Producer Training Program from UK. If any of you guys are familiar with the Tennessee Food Buyer Tours that CPA has been hosting, we started those last year. We work really closely with the Market Ready team, and so we were able to kind of borrow their Market Ready name and do buyer tours of our own in Tennessee. So if you see buyer tours advertised in Kentucky, those are our friends up there, and the ones down here in Tennessee are hosted by our center staff.
They're very fun. If no one has attended, you definitely should because they are great.
Yes.
I know we have one. If anyone is in Kentucky and would like to attend, my coworker Savannah is hosting one in June. I don't know the date because she did just change it, but she's hosting one in June. So that would be listed under that upcoming events that I showed on our Market Ready website. So feel free to peruse that website as well, whether it's the Center for Crop Diversification or Market Ready. Either one hosts a plethora of information. So yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you, Camille, for your presentation, and thank you guys for all the great questions. This information was great, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off this recording. You guys will be able to find it on YouTube later.